Hi everyone, I am Eric Dietrich and I am one of the co-founders of Hit Subscribe along with my wife. And today I'm going to be talking about topic planning for your blog, specifically tech blogs, because that's what Hit Subscribe focuses on. So the reason I'm making this video is because with our authors, we're starting to, for Hit Subscribe, want to delve into a little bit more of having people do topic planning for our clients' blogs, our clients who make software development tools. So right now I kind of handle all the topic planning that we do, and that is a state of affairs that might come to prevent us from growing. So it's time to spread the wealth around, and I figured as I was doing this, it might be nice to record some videos that start to make it a little bit clearer kind of why we do this. And so the audience here is Hit Subscribe's authors, because I'm producing a lot of documentation for the sake of this, but I think it'll play well in the general sphere. So what I'd like to talk about here is topic planning for a blog, the what and the why. So why do you do this at all? I guess the question you might have if you're not as familiar with this type of stuff is, it's a blog, right? So if you're a software development tools company, don't you just kind of write posts about whatever might pop into your head that's sort of related, to your offering? If you make an integrated development environment, IDE, shouldn't you just write about code and IDEs and development and stuff like that? And the answer is no, you want to do something that's a little bit more targeted than that. But it's tricky because if you just do that, it can actually work. And I say this because I have a blog, deadtech.com, that I started, let's see, it would have been 2010 or 2011, so 7 or 8 years ago. And for a long time, I did what I'll call journal blogging. I just wrote about whatever happened to interest me in any given week or day or what have you. And that was actually pretty successful. Over the years, I built up a nice loyal following. I have thousands of readers. I forget, I don't pay as much attention anymore, but maybe something like 50,000 visitors a month. So that worked. And because that worked, it gave me, I guess you could call it survivorship bias, although that's probably the wrong cognitive bias. Anyway, it doesn't matter too much, but the idea was, to me, this was the epitome of successful blogging. I had built an audience. Now, I hadn't monetized that audience in any way. And that's kind of what I'll say separates hobby blogging from professional blogging, if you will. And what we're doing here with Hit Subscribe for our clients is very much professional blogging. So when clients first started to approach me and they said, hey, Eric, we see that you've got this blog, Dead Tech, with a lot of followers. How would you like to write posts for us? I kind of carried forward what I had been doing for Dead Tech to those client blogs. Oh yeah, I'll write topics that occur to me that I think would be interesting to your audience. There's nothing wrong with that per se, but it's not the most scientific of approaches, if you will. And the reason for that is that it doesn't actually trace through to any specific financial or goal-based considerations. NDepend was one of the first clients that I wrote for. NDepend makes a static analysis tool for software architects, and I would just kind of write about miscellaneous topics that I thought might interest software architects, and also that interested me, that I just felt about like writing about. This helped. So for a few years, that's all I was doing, and it boosted traffic. It was something of a success, but as I started to understand content marketing more, I realized that I was leaving money on the table, or whatever you want to call it. So we've gotten a little bit more rigorous here about the topic planning that we do for our clients. And that's what I'd like to get into a little bit more. So for every blog that's a corporate blog, you're going to have financial-based incentives and goals. That's all there is to it. Nobody out there is blogging simply because it's fun if they have a business. Those, they may happen to find it fun, but you're running a business, you're trying to advance your interests. And I think the biggest mistake, I guess, if I think back when I first started doing this, And this was mitigated somewhat. I wasn't, committing malpractice on the job, but what was happening initially is that it was marketing people working with my first clients before Hit Subscribe when I was just freelance blogging. And the marketing people would propose topics for me to write about. And so because of that, I would come up with topics, and sometimes they'd say, yeah, that's great. Sometimes they would say, nah, don't do that. So I wasn't falling down on the job exactly, but I had this thought that, I didn't know why people were paying for my blogging services, except I had this general idea, number one, that it was, I guess at the time, 2014 or 2015. It's 2015, everybody that's a company has a blog, so they just want me to help with theirs. That was maybe all the more thought I'd given it. And at the time, I had a general sense that, yeah, okay, building a bigger audience means more followers, more potential customers. So I, without grokking, I understood that it would vaguely help with sales, and that's all I knew. And so I am assuming an audience that is kind of there right now, that you all watching get that it's important to maybe build traffic or whatever, but that you don't have a real good concrete concept of how that works. So I want to dive into that a little bit here. So what are some of the reasons that a company might want to blog? I'm just going to rattle off a few to kind of get that out there, and this is a complex topic. So reason number one that you might be most familiar with is let's build some loyal followers or fans. We don't have a really high profile, and what we want to do is, I work for Acme Inc. that makes a SaaS, and we want to get the word out about Acme Inc. and build fans of Acme Inc. So that's one motivation. Another motivation is what you'd think of as building authority. This is subtly and slightly different, but this is if I have Acme Inc., the SaaS company, and we're in the automated testing space, that I might want to become known if I'm an executive for that company or a software developer for that company. I want to become known as an expert in the field, and I want Acme Inc. to be thought of as an expert in this space, and that is the general idea of building authority. You're building credibility with an audience. Another related but slightly different concept is to raise brand awareness for the company. So maybe they know me, Eric, as the CTO or whatever I may be of Acme Inc., but they're not familiar with Acme, and they're not familiar with what it stands for and what problems it solves and that type of thing. So that's another goal that you would have for a blog, is to get that message out. There's another, switching gears a bit, this is strategic in a different way, which is you can blog to make Google and other search engines regard you with more authority. And this is nothing like establishing your expertise. This is convincing search engines to show your content. The idea being that when random people are Googling stuff, you're going to appear at the top and you're going to attract more people that way. That is absolutely a huge reason and a huge goal of a blog. There are other more subtle goals that you might have too that aren't just kind of related to strictly marketing efforts in the traditional sense. One of which is in the software niche especially, appealing to people other than your buyers. So for instance, the most common one that I see is that it's really hard to find software engineers to hire. So you might do some case studies about all the cool, sophisticated architecture you're building internally and how you're using all the latest and greatest tech stacks, and start actually appealing to the people that you'd like to hire and to help with recruiting efforts. So there are non-traditional uses of a blog along those lines. And then finally, the last thing that I'll mention is sort of an interesting edge case. Well, I don't even know that I'd call it an edge case, but it's not the first thing you'd think of, and this is what I'll call reference content, meaning you write some canonical definition post. If Acme Inc. is in the automated testing space, and this concept had not already been defined, let's say that I just came up with the idea of the test pyramid that a lot of people watching will probably know about. The reference post is this piece of intellectual property, this thing I've defined, the test pyramid I've defined. We want to put that on the blog so that when we're at conferences, meetups, sales conversations, things like that, you can say, hey, I have this, piece of content where you can go and read more about some of our thought leadership on the subject or what have you. This is the reference post. So all of these are reasons that you would want to blog, and the reasons that companies are willing to invest in having their own people blog, or in the case of Hit Subscribe, to pay us to do blog posts for them, because they're trying to accomplish some or maybe all of these goals, although probably if you're trying to accomplish all of them, you're casting too wide a net. But these are the types of things that companies, marketing departments want to do with their blog. And the reason that they want to do this basically all folds into this concept that I'll throw a screenshot up here that I grabbed off of some site called the marketing funnel. And I'll speak to that briefly. The marketing funnel is the way that you start with, and it's shaped like a funnel, if you can picture a funnel. You start at the top, where you're going to appeal to the broadest range of people, and then you're going to gradually qualify them to see whether they make sense for your offering or not. And you're trying to keep the ones going down the funnel that are your ideal buyers, while maybe casting a wider net and having awareness among a broader set of people than your buyers, because who knows, later you might have a new offering, or the people who aren't the greatest fit might later be a good fit. So you want to be appealing to a wider variety of people than are necessarily going to buy your product. And that's also a numbers game. You're going to give away a lot of free content on your blog. Only a fraction of those people are going to stick around and read and get to know you and click through to your landing page. So in all senses, this looks like a funnel. And there are stages to this funnel. Number one is at the very top, awareness. So if I'm Acme Inc., you know, especially because I just literally made this up, you're not aware of Acme Inc. So the first thing I want to do is just get you to be aware. The next thing, once you're aware, there's kind of a call to action there in awareness too. Like, you land on my blog, and I'm going to write a post, and maybe at the bottom it says, hey, if you like this content, bookmark us, or here are some other pieces of content that you might like. You want them to click around on your site, get to know you, become aware of you, with the idea that maybe they'll come back later. The next stage of the funnel is called interest. And that means you're aware of Acme Inc. and you're starting to become interested in what we have to offer. And there you might be a regular reader, you might have bookmarked the site, you might have signed up for a mailing list. You're getting to know us. And what we're going to try to do with somebody who's in that stage is to move them even further down into the funnel by getting them towards the next step, which is consideration. That's where you have interest in the value proposition that Acme Inc. offers. We can help you with unit tests. As you move to consideration, you start to actually think about making a purchase. Like, yeah, you know, maybe I'd be willing to pay $300 a year or whatever for this service. Like, let me give it some thought. The next stage there, and in the consideration stage, you're probably also thinking of maybe Acme Inc.'s competitors, and that's where you are. The next stage down that I will talk about is the evaluation trial stage, which is that is where, in the SaaS world or in the dev tools world, you have probably downloaded a free trial and you're evaluating the product. That's a really good sign, and especially if it's a good product, that's where, you know, you're getting to the narrow part of the funnel, because probably a lot of people that are doing the evaluation are going to wind up buying it. Even if not immediately, maybe they're solving a tactical problem, they'll remember it and they might purchase later. And then finally, at the bottom of the funnel, you become a customer, and that's your little, you know, it trickles into your metaphorical jar of customers. So that's the marketing funnel. And the reason I'm bringing all that up and showing this is that it's worth addressing here in terms of content planning. Where does the blog fit in? The blog is very heavily tied in with a marketing funnel, especially for software companies, because they're going to be investing a lot in digital content marketing. So the blog, you're going to have posts that maybe don't even mention the product because they're just trying to get you to the site. Those might be like kind of clickbaity things, opinion pieces, or how-tos that are designed to rank well in Google and just get you there. So as Acme Inc., who makes a unit testing related product, I might write a post about the test pyramid or about, you know, what is test-driven development. I'm not trying to sell my product anywhere. I'm just trying to get you onto my site and to associate Acme Inc. with testing. The blog is also going to be heavily involved with things like further down the funnel where you're doing interest and consideration, where we might start to talk about unit testing case studies or indirect use cases for the product. And from there, you might link out to a landing page where you say, hey, if you think you might want to do this, it just so happens we have a product that you could buy. So blogs can scratch the itch of almost the entire funnel with an asterisk for most of the clients that we serve, dev tools companies, SaaS companies, and I'll get to the asterisk here shortly. But it is a little bit complicated. For most of our clients, the blog will constitute the entirety of the funnel, but that's not always the case. And this is where it gets sort of complicated and why, again, topic planning isn't that easy of a thing. Because I'll ask you to consider 3 companies. Let's say Acme Inc., this SaaS company that I've made up, or this dev tools company, whatever. But then consider also, say, a large company like Microsoft, and then also consider an app dev agency. All of these are very software-related software companies, but they're going to have very different funnels, and they're going to try to do very different things with the blog. With the SaaS company, it's kind of most of what I've been talking about here. We're going to write all these different posts that are designed to bring in new readers, get them interested in the offering, and then eventually, hopefully, make a purchase. But then think of Microsoft. There's a serious contrast here. With my SaaS company, Acme Inc., we're not real well known. We don't have a site that ranks well in Google. Our name isn't out there. So a big part of our blog strategy is trying to get the name out there, trying to raise our profile with Google so that Google will rank our stuff and we can bring in searchers. Microsoft has no problems like that. Microsoft is going to rank for anything they write about on Google. They're also not probably suffering from a lack of brand awareness. People know who Microsoft is. And they also have a ton of products. So Microsoft, if you go look at their blog, and I haven't, I'm just operating on faith, they're going to be doing a different thing with their blog, which is probably not going to be trying to slurp you in, make you aware of Microsoft, and then get you to buy something. Instead, they're probably going to be establishing authority with a lot of new offerings, raising awareness of new offerings. And they're probably also going to be teeing up stuff for enterprise because their bread is going to be buttered by much larger transactions they do with companies, the kind of transactions that don't happen with, an individual getting out their credit card and buying a tool. And that brings me to the app dev agency, which is another great illustrator of this dynamic. The app dev agency is going to be selling 7- and 8-figure app dev engagements where, they send off 20 software developers to work at a client for a year. That is a much different thing than when the bottom of your funnel is a $29 a month SaaS. If the bottom of your funnel is an 8-figure deal, you don't close that through the internet. Nobody gets out their credit card and does that. So the bottom of the funnel, as far as your blog is concerned, is really going to be, you're going to have a call to action that is a sales meeting or a sales conversation or maybe an exploratory phone call. And you're going to structure the blog a lot differently. So if we were planning the blog for an app dev agency, we wouldn't be doing these indirect use case type posts. Almost certainly what we would be trying to do is raise brand awareness and also to establish authority and to have a call to action that is, hey, if this seems interesting, call us. We're absolute experts in XYZ cloud thing that we do. And if you'd like to learn more, give us a call. Or we have this, white paper case study based on our last 8 engagements. I mention all that because in thinking about what our authors are doing and in thinking about teaching people how to topic plan, it varies so much based on the company that you're talking to, and that's what makes all this actually pretty complex. So what happens is, in the end, topic planning becomes almost like this specific form of consulting where I'm going to talk with a client, and hopefully our authors in the future, or whomever is interested more in topic planning. You're going to talk with a client about what their goals are and where you fit into their strategy. And once you do that, that's where Hit Subscribe's knowledge takes over. We are aware of a lot of different kinds of blog posts and have opinions on the different sorts of blog posts you can write to do things like rank with Google, establish authority, raise brand awareness. So we have this, I've written actually on our site about a blog post taxonomy. So once we come to understand the client's goals, we can recommend a mix of blog posts that are going to achieve those goals, and then we start to lay those posts out. And when you get into the granular details of what you're doing with those posts, each post is going to have a mission. So when you write this post and put it up on the blog, there is actually, even at that granular level, this idea like, okay, with this post, we want to establish authority. So we are hoping that CIOs read this, and once they're done reading it, maybe they sign up for a newsletter, or they bookmark the site, or they share it. So any given post you're writing has that mission with this thing that you hope a reader does at the end of it. And it also has a persona, who that reader is. And that could be multiple people. But hopefully you're getting the idea here that based on a company's specific goals, we're going to create this kind of buffet of blog posts that we're going to write for them. And each of those blog posts is going to have a smaller goal that hews toward that larger goal or set of goals that we have for the client. So I'm going to leave it there and continue this series continue the channel with some additional how-tos, some thought pieces like this. And really what I'm trying to do here in these admittedly relatively low production YouTube, I'm not the greatest at YouTube, but what I want to do is start to teach anybody who's interested sort of what we do, and why it's maybe a little more complicated than you'd think, and kind of get some insights and or offer some insights so that hopefully we can share the topic planning love here, and also some of the other tactics without giving away too much of the secret sauce. So thanks for tuning in. This has been a lot of backstory. In future videos, I'm going to address some things. For instance, on the docket, I've got reasons that it's hard to plan content, and I'm going to speak more about the types of blog posts that I've alluded to and done the taxonomy on. So hopefully that's going to help, especially our authors, but just anybody who's interested. So if you liked this, please feel free to give us a like, especially if you're one of our authors. There's going to be more coming, so subscribe if you're so inclined to the channel. Otherwise, I'll throw out links for next time, and obviously please subscribe. Anybody out there, you don't have to be one of our authors. I would love to build the channel, but anyway, that's about it. So thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.